Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. Welcome to the show, Sharon, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jim, and Happy New Year to you.
Well, you're starting off the new year not all that happy, though. Maybe explain what's happened to the coalition concerning hearings by the BC Utilities Commission.
No, I am fuming. If you could see me, I've got smoke coming out of my ears about this one. And I think that every hydro customer should be absolutely furious about what's happening. A couple of months ago, BC Hydro submitted an application to the BC Utilities Commission. Right now, the tariff and the laws require that whenever any change in rates, any change in the laws or rules that govern BC Hydro have to be approved by the Utilities Commission. And the public, are supposed to be given a chance to review the application and to respond. We learned that the application had been submitted about a week before the responses were due, and this application was 4,000 pages long. 4,000 pages. And I and many others were very upset when we found out about it, and we asked if there could be a delay so that we could read and really concentrate on the application itself. And we were told no, that the timing was not debatable, that everyone had agreed to this timing, and we're not exactly sure what meetings they referred to where everyone agreed, because we were not aware of them, and we do try to keep on top of what's happening at the BC Utilities Commission. So we made our best attempt to go through and scan. We broke the 4,000 pages into sections and tried to scan, but there was just too much for us to handle. So a group of us asked to be interveners, and we sent in various comments and observations. And I made my application for intervener based upon the fact that I thought if they're going to be looking at rate designs and rate changes, they should be looking at the meter choice rates of $30 to $40 a month, which have never been justified, have never been explained to us. And I asked for several other aspects of the meter choice program to be reviewed. BCUC got back to me and refused my application and said that there was nothing in the application that pertained to the meter choice program, and therefore my application was refused. I had nothing to debate it with because I hadn't read the 4,000 pages, and it was getting close to Christmas and this sort of thing. The timing is always very interesting, that it's always right around holidays. And it wasn't until about 2 weeks before Christmas, just the middle of December, that a response that BC Hydro had to provide, it was 2,000 pages long, was submitted, and I went scanning it, and part of it was an application to change the tariff. Now, for those of you who don't know, the tariff is written by BC Hydro, and it's approved by the BC Utilities Commission. It is the contract which lays out the restrictions and the requirements that BC Hydro must follow and that we must follow. Primarily, it's our requirements if we're going to be getting electricity from Hydro. It says how we must pay our bill, how we have to give Hydro rights to our property, blah, blah, blah. And it's by and large written for the benefit of BC Hydro. But there are things in here that limit BC Hydro. It says that BC Hydro can't do things unless it's approved by BC Utilities Commission or if it's already in the tariff. Things like that. So I went reading through here. One of the changes that they want to do is minimum reconnection charges. Right now there are reconnection charges based on whether you have someone has to come out to your house and manually reconnect, or if they can do it remotely. There are two different charges. Now what they're doing is they are adding a new category. One, the first category, and I'm sorry, I don't have it right in front of me. I should have, but I don't. One of them is if you had your power disconnected, and it applies, for failure to be able to pay. They're going to be charging $30 to reconnect you. The next one is if someone has to come out to your house and manually reconnect your power. That is going to be something like $215. The next one is a brand new category, and it's for those who had their power cut because they refused hydro access to their meters. And those are primarily those people who have analog meters right now. The reconnection for those people are going to be $700. $700 to do the very same thing that they're going to do for the other people, for either $30 or $215. Absolutely crazy. There's no justification. I have written 3 times to BC Utilities Commission asking them for the justification, because under the BC Utilities Commission Act, hydro's costs must be justified. They have to be clearly explained. And it says and also in the tariff, in the current tariff and in the Utilities Commission Act, it says that fees cannot be discriminatory, and they have to have a relationship to the actual work involved. It doesn't seem to me like any of these fees, the $700, is following any of the rules in the tariff, and I can't get an answer. Second, there's a definition of a radio off meter. Now, people who have opted out, this is one of their options. If you want to opt out, you can keep your analog and pay the $30 to $40 a month. Or if you move or something, or some other conditions are met, you have the option of having the transmitter turned off. Now, the transmitter receives and transmits data. In the tariff, a definition of a smart meter is a meter with a transmitter that both receives and transmits data. They want the definition for a radio off meter to say it's a smart meter that has the transmission facility deactivated. That means it can still receive. That means that hydro can turn your meter on. You won't know it. That means that they can send messages to your meter. Your meter can still be used in some regards, and that means you would still be subjected to the radio frequency emissions. And the whole purpose for this radio off option is to alleviate the radio frequency submissions, the emissions that people are subject to. This is completely contrary to anything. And when BC Utilities Commission said that there was nothing in this that pertained to meter choices, they were deceiving people. They were not being honest. Both the fees and this definition do pertain to smart meter and the meter choice program. Third, and this is something that bugs me, it's not new. It's something that is in the tariff. It's always been in there. It's 9.5, and it's entitled Liability of BC Hydro. Let me just read it to you. It's rather long, but I think it's interesting. BC Hydro will endeavor to provide a regular and uninterrupted supply of electricity, but does not guarantee a constant supply of electricity or the maintenance of unvaried frequency or voltage, and will not be responsible or liable for any loss, injury, damage, or expense caused by or resulting from any interruption, termination, failure, or defect in the provision of electricity, whether caused by the negligence of BC Hydro or its representatives or agents. Can you think of any other company that would be able to say something like that?
It's a get-out-of-jail-free card, isn't it?
Yeah. What they're saying is they can be negligent. They can burn your house down. They can ruin all the food in your freezer. They could do anything. It says, and further down it says, neither BC Hydro nor any of its representatives is responsible for any loss of revenue, or economic loss, even if the loss arises directly from willful misconduct of BC Hydro or its representatives or agents. Willful misconduct? Everyone should go and read this. It's 9.5 in the tariff. It's been in there for years, and I object to it, and I think we should all be objecting to it. Frankly, I don't think it's legal. I haven't talked to a lawyer about it, and I'm not a lawyer. But this strikes me as something that Hydro could throw in people's face and say, look, it's in the contract. We don't have to pay you. Take us to court. I think in court people would win, but it costs money to go to court. And I have one more thing that really is making my blood boil. And this is under the service agreement of the BC tariff. It's item 2.1, which currently reads, BC Hydro serves customers solely in accordance with the electrical tariff, including terms and conditions and rate schedules. Individuals, persons, or other entities seeking to become customers and purchase electricity shall apply for service, period. BC Hydro wants this removed. They want the statement that BC Hydro serves customers solely in accordance with the electrical tariff removed. This means that they will have no restrictions. They will be able to do anything, and we will be entirely at the mercy and whim of BC Hydro, as if we aren't already. This is a contract written by Hydro, written for Hydro, and we are forced to accept it if we want to have an essential service, which is electricity. Now, if people who are listening to me are satisfied with their service and satisfied with allowing Hydro to run ramshot over everyone, fine, but I'm not. I think that we should be screaming about these changes and the fact that BCUC will not allow any of the public to speak to this.
A conspiracy of silence?
A conspiracy. And it's a conspiracy of silence on our part. And then when BCUC approves this and we start raising objections, Hydro will say, well, BCUC approved it. I would like very much to know who's pulling the strings on these. Is Bill Bennett behind it? Is Christy Clark behind it? Because certainly BC Utilities Commission is not doing its job. It's not protecting us. And this has become a real sham. How dare the Utilities Commission thumb its nose at us? They are directed under the Utilities Commission Act to do their job to protect us. Already they're failing to do it by not looking at the fire issue, not looking at the cybersecurity issue. But now further, they're going to allow these sorts of things to happen? I just don't understand it, Jim. Where is this coming from, and what is this province coming to?
Who signs their paychecks?
Yeah, they're appointees. BC Utilities Commission are, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, I know some of them are, I believe they are political appointees. They're paid big bucks to do this.
Well, we do have the former executive director of the BC Liberal Party facing criminal charges in Ontario in connection with their gas plant scandal.
Yep.
Are you saying something like this could be happening? Or you just want to know, is it?
Jim, all I know is that the rules are being broken. This whole particular exercise is supposed to be open and transparent and available to the public. When you provide a document that's 4,000 pages long and give people a week to look at it and then refuse people the opportunity to provide comments, this is not democracy, and this is not what is called for under the Utilities Commission Act. And tomorrow is the last day for comments. Then they shut it off. It's finished. It's over and done, and you can bet dollars to donuts that these are going to be approved by the BC Utilities Commission. In fact, they already told Hydro as of January 1st they can start charging that $700 fee to reconnect people.
Even though there's no evidence you need $700 to flip a switch.
And that's all it is. They were doing it before, for I think it was $70 was the reconnection fee. So somebody has to drive out to your house. That's all it really is in most situations. But $700? It's punitive and it's discriminatory, just as all of their other fees are. The $32.40 cannot be justified either. The legacy fee has never been justified. It's the highest in North America by a lot. And you can't tell me that Hydro's doing anything different. In fact, it's doing a heck of a lot less than many of the other utilities are doing. And when we asked these be reviewed, what did BCUC? Hydro said, no, this was reviewed just recently, and you agreed that they were fine. They were not really reviewed. We didn't have a chance for a heck of a lot of input. They weren't justified. And we were told, take it or leave it. Here's your fee. Many people are giving up food. They're living in homes that are cold. I'm getting letters every day from people, Jim, who are saying that they're paying more for their legacy fee than they are for their heat. And this is in winter. This is so wrong.
We'll have more with Sharon Noble right after the break.
Unbelievable harmonies, spectacular performance, the ultimate tribute to the Everly Brothers and Simon and Garfunkel. Bird Dog and the Vintage Electric Band, Saturday, January 9th at the Alex Goulden Hall. Buy online and save at ontourtickets.com. More and more people are looking to the internet for intelligent, riveting, and thought-provoking interviews. To advertise on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com, call 604-699-8600, 604-699-8600.
In Goddard we trust.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sharon Noble. Sharon, months ago, you requested a financial report from BC Hydro asking about the smart meter program. How much does it cost them? How much money do they make from it? What kind of liability there might be from it? Have you received a report from Hydro yet?
I asked for the most recent report starting in July, and at the beginning of December, I received the report from April to June. I still haven't received the one from July through September. Skinny, really, really insubstantial. None of the major information was provided. None of the information showing how much money has been taken in by the legacy program, by the meter choice program. Nothing there about any of the costs that have been incurred. And what is really troubling to me, and I think should be very troubling to everybody, there is no talk anywhere about two major issues. One is cybersecurity. Everywhere in North America, utility companies are being told to beef up their cybersecurity methods and their software. As you know, Jim, from reading my updates, there are warnings coming out every week about new vulnerabilities in the smart grid, new vulnerabilities that are really considered to be very, very dangerous, with the meter being the portal where hacking, where viruses and whatever can enter through the smart meter, get into homes, get into the grid. There's nothing in the smart meter program about cybersecurity. Also, recently, we found an admission of something that we've been talking about for a while, about the fact that these meters have very, very short life expectancies, which are only 5 to 7 years. And we have now industry admitting that it's only 5 to 7 years. Our business case, Hydro's business case, was built upon a 20-year life expectancy. If it's 5 to 7, where's that money coming from? Is there a contingency fund? Where are they building up the money, or are we just going to be hit again for another $555 meter that's going to be put on everybody's home? I believe it will be the second, because I can't find anything in the financial report. I sent about, and I don't have it right in front of me, I'm sorry, I sent a request for a lot of information back to the BC Utilities Commission, which is the body that gets the financial report. They receive it, but there's no indication that anyone looked at it. When I sent these questions back to the BC Utilities Commission, they told me that they had sent it off to Hydro and had asked Hydro to answer my questions. But that was about 6 weeks ago, and I haven't received anything since. We don't know what's going on. They won't tell us anything about the financial cost of this program. We don't know really how much money has been spent, how much money is yet to be spent, and where are we going to be, say, in 2 or 3 more years when the meters start having to be replaced. This is something that's major, and it's a bottomless pit, and we have no idea. We have no idea. Nobody's being told that this is true.
So essentially, Hydro is operating in the dark.
Hydro knows what's happening.
They're keeping everybody else in the dark then.
They're not telling BCUC, which is the body they're supposed to be answering to. As far as I can tell, BCUC doesn't have a clue. They certainly don't have a clue from the financial reports. And I've been sending them information, and they never respond to me. I never get any sort of reaction. I'm so hoping that you've got listeners who are getting as frustrated about this as I am, and who will write to the BC Utilities Commission and write to their MLA and express the outrage that they feel. We are being treated just like pocketbooks. Just shut up and pay. They're not giving us any information. They're not allowing us to participate in any decision making. Just shut up and pay. Well,
Rafe Mayer, on our show that we did yesterday, complained that the so-called loyal opposition in British Columbia doesn't raise questions about things anymore. They just say, well, it sounds like a good program. We'll go along with it.
There is no opposition. Rafe is right. There's no opposition anymore. We need an opposition party. Where are John Horgan and Adrian Dix on this? Adrian Dix is supposed to be the BC Hydro critic. I never hear anything substantial from him. Do you?
No.
Has Rafe heard anything?
Well, Rafe has a lot of other concerns that he's trying to get a handle on that he doesn't hear anything back either. He's just very disappointed that we have a government that does everything in secrecy, and B, an opposition that does not do its job to dig it up. And he said even if you agree with a program, say smart meters, you still should be asking questions like, well, how long will they last? Will we be charged extra fees if we don't want one? Why are we charged such high fees? You don't hear those questions asked in the legislature, do you?
No, and look at Site C. How can a government ask for be told to have an impartial panel, make recommendations, receive recommendations from that impartial panel, and then proceed to ignore them? Where is everybody? Why don't we have some strong people standing up and fighting for our rights anymore? It shouldn't be up to Rafe, and it certainly shouldn't be up to me to point out these deficiencies. It should be up to the opposition, to the loyal opposition. I think the emphasis now is on loyal instead of opposition.
Yeah, whose side are they on? And why bother voting for them if they're not going to say anything?
Well, this was something that, I like John Horgan personally. I know him a little bit, and I really like him. But I'm very disappointed. And I hurt his feelings terribly. I was told I hurt his feelings terribly when during the last election I said I couldn't tell the difference between him and Bill Bennett. But I can't. They all sound the same to me. And that's not the way it should be. You don't want somebody to be so agreeable when there are so many things to disagree about. It's just a shame. Jim, I wish we could all stand up and say we want to start all over again. Let's reelect everybody brand new. Get new people in there from bottom up. Because either they're too comfortable or they're too afraid to speak up for fear that they might lose their election and lose a pension. I don't know what is going on, but there's certainly something that we don't know.
Well, it sure seems to me like I have a cushy job here. I get paid well to go to Victoria for a few weeks a year to go and ask a few questions. And in the meantime, what do? I know every MLA will tell you, I work hard. I talk to constituents. I said, okay, so you've talked to them. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do for them?
Try to talk to your MLA. It's not easy. I've tried to talk to mine a few times, and often I get stuck with the assistant, running interference. I've met with my MLA a few times. It hasn't really done any good. She sits there and she's very pleasant, and she says all the things, yes, I hear you, yes, I'll help you, yep. And then after that, nothing. I've met with people like Adrian Dix, as I told you, who told me I was a liar. You can't get these people to get involved in issues that the public is very concerned about and should be concerned about. I know I'm kind of like I'm a one-note person right now with regard to these smart meters, but I think the smart meter issue typifies the problem. These are things that are cheaply made, expensive, we can't afford, we didn't need. We're not benefiting, only the corporations are benefiting. They're dangerous. They're hurting our health. They're risking our lives from fires. And nobody seems to care. It seems to be typical of just so many of the programs that are being put into place and the things that this government is doing. What a way to start the new year, huh, Jim?
Well, it's got to start somewhere, and it is just a date on the calendar.
It ruined the new year for me because I was trying to think of ways that, to be able to have my complaints addressed. I think I've got legitimate questions, and I want someone to answer them. And I've been told by the BC Utilities Commission, nope, not going to happen.
Sharon, I hope things get brighter, I guess literally, in the new year.
I do too, Jim. I don't like being such an angry curmudgeon all the time,
Yeah, some people I know revel in it, but you're not that kind of person.
I'm not normally. But you know what? I've become that kind of a person, I think, and it's really too bad. I kind of resent it.
Sharon, is there a website somebody can go to find out more about the coalition?
There certainly is. We've got two websites. One is www.stopsmartmetersbc.com, and the other one is www.citizensforsafetechnology.org. And if anybody wants to receive my newsletters, they can email me at director@stopsmartmetersbc.com and put updates on the subject line. I do my best to keep people informed about what's happening. And I so hope that people will speak out. We've got to. And I truly believe, Jim, that the power of the people is stronger than the people in power. We've just got to use it.
Sharon, I hope it is a much happier New Year.
Thank you, Jim. I thank you very much, and Happy New Year to everybody.
My guest has been Sharon Noble, director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Comments about the show can be emailed to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.